Hey everyone, we're going to learn how to upload imagery and get Photoshop started with some drawing today. So you can literally drop your downloaded image into Photoshop. It will automatically open up like I have here. If you need to crop the image, you can select the crop tool like I just did and then click return. I'm going to switch into full screen mode for myself here just to clean things up for us. I'm going to talk about some windows you want to have open. So if you hit window, make sure your layers and your navigator are selected. Those are two great windows to have open here. Let's talk about that. You want to unlock your layer, and if you switch the eye off and on, you'll see that your layer turns off and on there. The navigator tool, you can zoom in and zoom out and scroll around whenever you want. This is the move tool, and that's the brush tool. You can select different brushes here, different hardness and softness of the brush, and different styles of brushes as well. Let's talk about the hardness and softness of a brush. If I have a brush really soft, I'm going to get a fuzzy edge. If I have it really hard, it's going to get a more crisp outer edge. Pick a style you like. There's the general brushes, there's different folders for different types of brushes. You have to find the line art brush that you like the most. All of you are going to be using black to work with. So find something that you can work with that feels spot on for the type of line work you want to do. So experiment with that. If you switch to the eraser, you'll start erasing on your sketch page. You'll notice that this checkerboard pattern is in the background. If you select a new layer, like I just did, we're going to call it background. We're going to slide that underneath the layer that your drawing's on. We're going to call that sketch. What we can do is go on the background layer, select the paint bucket tool, select white, and fill that with white. The reason that's good is if I erase the background, you're going to notice that, wait a minute, Mr. Pyers, it's still that gray back there. We'll just edit that out. But if we're on the sketch layer, you're going to notice that because I have the white back there, it doesn't allow you to see that checkerboard effect. So one thing you can do is make sure to lock your background. You'll see, I just did that about 5 seconds ago, so you can see how I did that. I'm going to, you could have your brush window open, but it's a little bit cumbersome, so I would just do it only when you need it. I just created a new layer. This is going to be the line art layer, and the line art layer, that's where we're going to do our line work. One of the move tools is called the rotate move tool. You can select it on the toolbar, or you can actually press R on your keyboard and you can get a shortcut, and that rotates the image so when you have to turn things when you start drawing. On the line art, I'm picked my brush size. Let's see if it feels good. This one's a little bit too thick of a line for me. I think my brush needs to get smaller. So I can switch to the eraser and erase out on my line art layer. And this is a much better line thickness that I like. So I'm going to start doing my drawing. So again, I'm not drawing on the sketch, I'm drawing over it on a new layer. So the sketch is separate. Now I did notice something on my drawing. I think my head has too long of a neck. So I'm actually going to erase some of that line art I did. And I'm going to go to the sketch layer and select my lasso tool right there. I'm going to outline around my head. And I'm going to use the move tool. And I'm actually going to be able to move that part of the sketch down. And I'm going to shorten my neck length by overlapping my head a little bit more. And now I'll continue on my sketch. So yes, you can cut parts of your sketch out and move them if you need to help fix some proportions. A lot of illustrators do this when they need to change something. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in with the line I want. I can always alter things. If I hit the eye off the layer of the sketch, you'll notice you only see my finished line work. And you see how there's some mistakes I made. So I can go back and erase those. I typically do this at the end. I clean up everything at the end, but I want to show you this now. I typically go at the end and I just touch things up that were a little bit off. So don't worry about being perfect when you start your line art. You can always go back and clean things up that are that weren't as effective as they could have been drawn. Seeing the sketch layer is really good because it allows you to focus on where to go. And see, I didn't like that, so I can hit the undo button on the top of my toolbar to go back a step. So again, pressing R, I'm rotating the canvas so I can get that nice angle with my hand when I'm drawing. Feels more natural that way. And I'm doing some modifications to my original sketch that fit the look that I want more on the character. So that's how it looks without the sketch on. Now here's one thing also. If I want to see the sketch a little bit less, I can actually go on the sketch layer and move the opacity slider, and it makes my sketch more dim, so it doesn't stand out as much, so I can see my line art separate from the sketch a little bit more. I'll show you a couple other things. I'm going to continue on doing my line art here. I'll show you a couple more things that would be advantageous. Again, if you make a mistake, you can undo. There's also a history tool to go back 30 or 40 steps if you really wanted to. So it's if you make a mistake, it's no big deal. I like zooming in and out, seeing how everything's looking, checking my layout. Now to save, I go to Save As, like I did there. I give myself a name to my piece, make sure it's a Photoshop file, and I click OK and save it to my desktop. It's very important to save your work and keep it as a Photoshop file. Once I close out, one important step that I want everyone to do is open up your Gmail and go to your drive. If you don't have a folder for your art class, create a new folder. You should probably call it Studio Art. And click OK. And when that folder appears, double click on it, and you can click and drag the file you just saved in Photoshop. And it's there. It's a good backup. That way, if you go to any computer here in the school, you can use it.